In this video, I'm going to be showing you how I built my quick and easy DIY fridge slide for our Dometic fridge. First off, I just want to say I'm obviously not a professional or even an amateur woodworker, as you can see from these beautifully finished corners. I have very limited equipment and very limited knowledge of woodworking. However, this is how I built it, and for now, it's still working quite well. When I was building this fridge slide, I wanted something light and that wouldn't take up a lot of space, and so I opted for 1/2-inch plywood. 1/2-inch plywood will warp easier than 3/4-inch plywood. However, this simple slide has been working very well and is still quite durable and very strong even after 2 years of use. For the materials, I used again 1/2-inch plywood, and I'll go over the dimensions later, wood glue, construction screws, heavy-duty locking slides, pan head screws, D-rings, lashing straps, nuts and bolts, washers, and paint. For equipment, I used a drill, a 90-degree angle clamp, 2 spring clamps and a small L bracket, a saw, sandpaper, and paintbrushes. So what I essentially built is a tray with slides inside a box. The fridge slide is built specifically for our CFX 40, which has a length of 27.2 inches and a width of 15.7 inches. It is also useful to know that these are the same dimensions for the CFX 35. They only differ in height by 2 inches. The tray that holds the fridge has a length of 28.5 inches and a width of 16 inches, so there is very little clearance and therefore very little waste of space. Here are the dimensions. First, we have what I'm calling the tray, which is what the fridge is sitting in. There are 3 pieces, so a base and 2 sides. The base is 16 inches wide and 28.5 inches long. This length gives me just enough space to fit the fridge and the D-rings, which the fridge will strap to. The 2 sides have a width or height of 2¼ inches and has the same length as the base. It doesn't have to be this height exactly, as long as the slide can be attached to it and it allows room for the side vents to have airflow. This just shows how I put the pieces together. So the sides sit on the outside of the base, and I used wood glue between the pieces, and then I used these construction screws along that edge, spaced about 5 inches apart. In order to attach the wood pieces together and make sure that they were square, I used this 90-degree angle clamp. This was the cheapest option I could find, and it cost me around $40 Canadian at Home Depot. I used the angle clamp together with 2 spring clamps and a small metal L bracket, which I don't have anymore since I installed it into the camp kitchen box, so I'm just going to pretend this piece of paper is the L bracket and show you how I used it in order to make my 90-degree connections. This is what the angle clamp looks like, and the handle turns to tighten to the size of your wood. So you put this on the edge of your workbench and then clamp it down. This is how I want to attach my pieces of wood together, so I'm going to place the wood in this way. And this is when I would add my wood glue in. The bottom is now held as tight as it can be by the clamp, and there's a separation at the top, which I'm holding together with my hand. So even with glue, I needed something to hold the 2 pieces together so that I could add the screws and not have one piece shift while I was doing it. Here is a top view of the 2 pieces of wood, and again, pretend this piece of paper is a metal L bracket. What I did was I placed it on the inside of the wood pieces, and then I used the spring clamps to hold it all together, making sure the edges were lined up. Here's what it looks like on the outside, and yes, there's still a small gap, obviously because I'm using paper and not a metal bracket, but you get the idea. Oh, and these pieces are uneven because I'm just using some scrap pieces to demonstrate how I use the 90-degree angle clamp. So after attaching the pieces together, my outer dimension of the tray is 17 inches. Let's move on to the dimensions of the box, which is what the tray sits in. The base is 18.5 inches wide, and the length is the same as the tray, it's 28.5 inches long. My width of 18.5 inches is meant to accommodate the tray, which is 17 inches wide, and my 2 slides on each side, which are 3/4 inch wide. If you're using different slides that have a different thickness or width, you'll have to adjust the base width accordingly. The 2 sides also have the same length, again 28.5 inches long, and I didn't include a width or height because it depends on how much you want to enclose your fridge. Ours goes almost all the way up the side, so it's about 20 inches high. Again, the sides sit on the outside of the base, and I use wood glue and then use screws horizontally, spaced about 5 inches apart. It should look like once it's assembled. So I've got the tray on the inside, then I've got the slides, and then I've got it all sitting in the box. When I installed it, I installed the slide so it's sitting right on the bottom of the box, and I had to leave about a 1 centimeter clearance so that you could slide the tray in and out. Here are the dimensions of the slide. So it's 3 inches high and 3/4 inches wide. Here's what the gap looks like up close. Some information on the slides that I bought. I couldn't find them on Amazon available to ship to my location in Canada at the time, so I ended up buying these ones from Lee Valley Tool. The Lee Valley ones only came in these sizes, so I had to buy the 24-inch ones since the 30-inch ones would be too long. However, as you can see, the tray pulls out adequately for us to access the fridge. These slides are designed for loads of up to 400 pounds, and they can be secured in the open or closed positions, making them ideal for camp kitchens in your vehicle. There's also some information about the dimensions and the type of hardware it requires. These are the screws that I use. They're a number 10 by a 1/2 inch long, and I basically screwed them into almost every hole I could find on the slide because I wanted to make sure that it was going to be very secure since they were only a 1/2 inch long. Next, I installed the D-rings, which originally came with some little screws, but we opted to use bolts with washers on the top and bottom because this is essentially what is holding your fridge to your slide. So you want something strong and secure. For the straps, we use these lashing straps that I got from Home Depot. And all that's left is to loop your straps through your fridge handle and the D-rings and tie them up in a pretty little knot. Oh, and one last thing, I did cut some holes in the side of the box thinking that I would need it for ventilation. It turns out this was always stuffed with our gear back here, so it was pretty useless, but we did find that this 1.5 inch gap provided enough space for airflow. So here we are. I hope you found this video useful. Let me know if you have any questions, and of course, thanks for watching.